Alright guys, here's our call for tonight. I didn't quite make it through the weekend without getting an overtime call. So here's what we're dealing with. Walk-in freezer, they said, isn't keeping temperature. It's getting pretty close to 0 degrees right now. We're of course going to go through and check everything out as we normally would, but real quick, I wanted to give you a tour of a pretty rundown walk-in cooler here. Yeah, see that right there? In my opinion, is going to leave a lot of room for moisture penetration. See over here as well. And we get up here. Yeah, you can actually see through there. Now this cooler, we have recommended many times that they just have it torn down and replaced. They have not done that yet. So this is what you get. However, this walk-in cooler is not really our issue. Let's check out our freezer. Alright, looks like we are at 0 degrees. Now this freezer isn't too bad. However, if we look right up here, there's actually a dip. Right here is the end of that dip, so the ceiling's actually bowing down. And I've been here quite a few times, and what they have going on here is there's a roof leak above this. And one of my first visits here, this entire ceiling was just full of ice. I'm sure it probably still is, but you know, the roof had started leaking, the ceiling filled up with water, then it would freeze and expand. I mean, it's got a lot of issues here. But so if you notice, like right over here, you can see we got a space right there. Not so much on that side. Back to the matter at hand. You'll notice got a little iceberg right there. Now that honestly is not a surprise in this location because the roof leak has not been fixed yet, so it still leaks sometimes. They still get water penetration or moisture penetration. Despite our recommendations and our quotes to repair, they never ever actually approve any quotes. So, alrighty guys, let me move some of this stuff out of the way. I'm going to climb behind that coil and just do a general inspection before we get up on the roof. Alright guys, here's our condensing unit right here. Looks like it was built in about 1937. I really don't know how old this unit is. I can see a little bit of that data tag, but for the most part it's just whitewashed. Not even sure what kind of refrigerant we would have in here, so hopefully it's written down somewhere. Hopefully it's written somewhere on the inside here. First things first, found myself a new wrench. That's cool. A pile of service caps. You'll notice right there, apparently somebody just didn't want to put the service caps back on our king valve on the receiver. And if you notice right there, we have a bubbling sight glass, a rusting out suction dryer. Accumulator's not too terrible. Looks like both our fans are going the right way. My condensing coil is pretty much clean. So it appears all of our electronics are functioning. Fans, compressors, thermostats of course. And our evaporator coil and condensing coil both seem to be pretty clean. This condensing coil couldn't hurt to give it a little bit of washing because I can't see through it, but The inside surface and the outside surface are both clean. However, that doesn't necessarily mean the middle part of that coil is clean, so we may have to address that tonight as well. So right now all I'm looking at is our bubbling sight glass. So I think it's about time to gauge up on this system and see what we're dealing with. Grab my electronic leak detector, we'll sweep it and gauge up to it and see if we can't figure something out. But on a side note, I was able to kind of figure out the refrigerant. There's a little label on top of the compressor. It's a R404 or 507. It's one of those two. Now, I'm just going to make an educated guess and assume that it's 404 because that's just a more widely used refrigerant, in my opinion. So, I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's 404. Let's get our gauges attached here, but first what I want to do is I want to check my Schrader ports before I put my gauges on. Nope, got no leaks, nothing there. I got a slight hit on my receiver. All right. Power that down because I'm sure those fans are messing with my test. And my battery's getting low. Alright, well, maybe I just got a false hit there, I'm not sure. See, I'm not getting any hits in any of the obvious places, like around the top of this, or even the bottom of these accumulators will rust out sometimes. So nothing there. These suction dryers, I've seen these rust out and leak numerous times. Kind of thought I'd get a little bit of a hit right here. It's rusted pretty bad up on top here, but so far, nothing out of there. All right, let's get some bubbles. You can see right down there. See if I can point this out if the camera will focus. Right there we go. Right about there. Getting a little bit of something, not much, but looks like I'm getting a little bit of seeping. It's hard to tell. Those bubbles are honestly moving so slow, but they are moving. Just the littlest, tiniest leak in there probably. Now on this accumulator, I don't see anything. The suction dryer should be repiped now. Not getting anything out of the king valve on the receiver at all. Check our stem. Oops, not a very good shot with this. I just kind of shoot it all over the place. I'm gonna check those with my electronic leak detector real quick. Getting a pretty substantial hit right there. That liquid line, not so much. Our suction line. Yeah, we definitely got a leak right there. I'll check this receiver king valve again. I'm getting a little bit around the stem of this. There we go. Pull it back, let it suck in some actual air and sort of reset itself. And we go back in again, and we still have a leak. So I'm going to try to confirm that leak around the stem of that with some bubbles. And then what we'll do is we'll just get you in a little bit closer. We'll probably just take this packing nut that's right there and tighten that up a little bit and see if we can get our leak to just go away the easy way. Now, let's check out our suction line king valve or queen valve, or service valve actually. We got some bubbles coming up slowly to the surface. I was getting a pretty good hit on there with my electronic leak detector, so I was hoping for, I guess, more bubbles anyway. Yeah, if you look right down here, focus in. It's hard to see, but you can see some of those bubbles moving. Let's see if I can get this out of the way there. Not really picking it up well on camera, but there are some bubbles coming up from the bottom of that Allen wrench hole, I guess you'd call it. I'm sure there's a technical term for it. So I think we need to go downstairs and leak check everything as well. Alright guys, just wanted to take a minute and acknowledge something here. As you've seen, I was getting some hits around this valve with my electronic leak detector, mostly on the inside here, and then you've seen me fill it full of bubbles. Now, I don't normally like to do that in this particular situation because obviously on the low side you run the risk of pulling those bubbles into the sealed system if there is a major leak over here. So I do have the system off, so it basically was under positive pressure. However, I am going to clean it all up and get as much of that bubble solution out of there as I possibly can for that very reason. I don't want to pull, even on this, I'm going to wipe this off too. I don't want to pull anything into that, into the low side if I can avoid it. So that's my line of thinking with that idea, I guess. That's my line of thinking for this situation, rather. All right, let's go down inside the box and sweep that with our electronic detector. All right, here we are at the evaporator. Let's see. Right where I'm going right now is my TXV. All right, let's get a better view of this. Don't see any oil stains, so really all I'm trying to do is hit around all of these elbows, all of these U-joints. Alright guys, let's look into this iceberg a little bit. Yeah, it's been there. It's been there for a while. Alright, so, I don't know if it'll pick it up on camera, but it looks like we have water coming in somewhere inside this line set penetration. I can barely reach back here, trying to shove my giant body in this this little space between the evaporator coil and the wall here, but it looks like it's dripping out of there. When I was here the very first time, they had the same problem, and it was much worse, I suppose. And also, guys, we're not the only company that comes out to this location and services it, so all that caulk wasn't there the last time I was here. So I'm going to add that to my quote to, I don't know, maybe dig out all that caulk, or I'm not real sure. I don't know if it's a problem that can be fixed simply by recaulking that hole, because like I said, they had roof leaks, which led to the ceiling of this walk-in freezer filling with water and expanding, and we had all sorts of problems then. Let's see if I can get this on camera, but if you'll notice right here too, hold on, let me get you a better angle, guys. Alright guys, if you'll notice right here, our liquid line, I'm not real sure why it's done this way. It seems kind of odd to me. They have an upside down trap on our liquid line, and to be honest, I've never seen that before. The trap on our suction line, of course, that makes sense, you know, for proper oil return and whatnot, but literally our condenser sits right above us, maybe 5-10 feet at the most. So if any of you guys know why they would have a upside down trap on our liquid line, let me know. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I've never seen one like that before that I can remember, and I've never read any reasons why that would be like that on a situation like this anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Seems odd to me. Alright guys, you may notice I'm kind of rushing around. This place closes in about a half hour, and at that point I'll have nobody on site to sort of babysit me, I suppose. But real quick, I just got back up here. I don't know if you can hear it, if it's picking it up on camera, but our liquid valve right there is making some noise. And I'm not sure why right now. See? There we go. So let's see if I can get in there and just tighten that Schrader core up, but there's a long list of things I'm going to end up quoting for on this job. So I think instead of connecting right there, I'll just connect over here. I'm going to seal that cap up, and like I said, I'll just connect right over here then, make it a lot easier on me. Here's where we're at, guys. My sight glass is still bubbling a little bit, if you can see it back there. We're losing daylight, so I'm kind of putting a rush on things, and they close in about 20 minutes now. I was just checking my pressures across this dryer to see if it was causing any sort of restriction or not, or anything like that. We're not. I got maybe a PSI drop from the top side to this valve over here, so I'm not too concerned about that. So as I was going through this, I was thinking about what I would have to quote to repair. Whenever I find these leaking, I just quote to have them cut out, and I'll just pipe it straight through with a service port on there, and same with the liquid line. And then I usually come back and I'll cut out this suction dryer and pipe that straight through. However, on this system, where it's at least 20-30 years old, it's original to the building, and I know the building is 25 years old maybe, so this has got to be almost 30 years old, I'm guessing 20 plus at the very least. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to quote them a new condensing unit and evaporator coil, and yeah, we're going to be done with it, because this is just a really old system that either is operating on 404 or 507, I think it was. So that's what we're going to do, guys. All right, but for now, I'm going to clear this sight glass and make sure that box gets down to 0 before I get out of here. Alright guys, let's see how we're doing in our box here. Alright, looks like our return is down to about 9. When I opened the door, you saw it spike up a little bit. Check over here, we're doing about 5 degrees right there. So we're just about satisfied. Ready to get out of here. I'm just adding to the load on the box. Alright guys, so we're just wrapping up this service call here. I'm down to about 2 degrees right now, just about ready to satisfy and shut off. So just a quick recap. The complaint was the freezer wasn't maintaining temperature. When I got here, it was about 5 degrees-ish. The kitchen manager said that it got up to 15 at some point. However, I wasn't able to verify that. The defrost clock was working, it was spinning. I didn't get a chance to show that on camera. It did have, I think, 3 45-minute defrosts set in. But I guess the main focus point of my service call was the bubbling sight glass. We were low on refrigerant. I found a couple little leaks. The suction dryer was weeping the valve on the receiver. I was getting a slight hit on that, but I couldn't verify with bubbles. The suction line valve at the condensing unit was leaking. So a couple little leaks. I didn't find anything in the evaporator. So I gassed it up, kind of sealed up the caps with a little bit of leak lock, and we're getting down to temperature. I'm going to get out of here. But I am going to quote to replace the evaporator coil and the condensing unit. I may end up also putting a quote in for repairs, because this customer doesn't really like to spend money, so I might end up just coming back and repairing it. But who knows? It's hard to say sometimes. Sometimes you put a quote in and they just never want to do it, or they go with the cheapest guy. Usually my customers will get 3 quotes and they just go with the cheapest company. And then a couple months later I come back and re-quote it, because whatever they did is usually wrong, or not necessarily wrong, just not done in a way that would last a long time, I suppose. But anyways, guys, it's late, it's Sunday, it's about 10 after 9 where I'm at, so I'm gonna watch this drop 2 more degrees and I'm gonna get out of here. All right, you guys have a good night. Thanks for watching. If you get a chance, hit that like button, and if you're not already subscribed, might as well subscribe while you're at it, right? All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Stay curious. All right.